Hey, First Things First listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
First things first, on a Monday morning, did Aaron Rodgers' Super Bowl chances get a super boost over the weekend? Does Tom Brady's extension guarantee he's playing to and perhaps past age 45? And it certainly looks like the Seahawks are finally trying to make Russ happy in Seattle. Good morning and welcome to First Thing First, everyone. Jenna Wolfe alongside Brandon and Nick and Kevin's on board. And boy, we got a jam-packed show. We got some amazing guests this morning, but you know where we must start with the big news over the weekend. The end of the road for Drew Brees. I mean, guys, we all thought he was done after last season, 20 in the NFL, but then he went and he posted that workout video and we thought, maybe? Is it possible? But yesterday, Drew Brees making it official on Instagram, thanking everyone in his circle. He said it's not goodbye. Instead, it's a new beginning. And then he got some help from his friends, his four very best friends. Take a listen.
After 15 years in the Saints and 20 years in the NFL, our dad is finally going to retire. So he can spend more time with us. Yay!
That is a great reason to do it. Numbers. Drew Brees finishing his career as the NFL's all-time leader, more than 80,000 passing yards. One of the most accurate quarterbacks. I'll say it, one of the best we've ever seen at the position. So, Brandon, let's kick it off with you. You played with Drew. What was your reaction to his retirement yesterday?
Well, I wouldn't say I played with Drew. I definitely held his helmet and tried to be a great teammate on the sideline. I was there for a month and a half, but I was able to witness greatness. That's what I was able to witness. And as far as my reaction, I didn't have a reaction because we all knew, or we should have known, that Drew Brees was walking away from the game after the season, especially after that moment of him and his wife embracing after their last game and their loss to the Tampa Bay Bucks. For Drew Brees, the thing that pops out to my mind, in my mind is this: what he was able to accomplish after that 2005 injury. Like, that was a devastating injury. That's probably the worst injury a quarterback can sustain. And what he was able to accomplish after, we're talking about winning a Super Bowl. He's all-time leader in yards. He's second all-time in TDs. And he probably has a handful of other records, that we can show and talk about. This dude's greatness and his level of commitment was second to none. His mastery is something that also sticks out. He is the one guy in the National Football League that mastered the process, that mastered, being able to be the same guy every single day. So was I surprised? Absolutely not. I think everybody on the show, Jenna, you included, when he posted that video, it was like, well, is he coming back? I was like, guys, he's fooling you. You know he's not coming back. And Jenna was like, well, who pushes weight that way? Like, who does those exercises? He's pushing a sled through a parking lot. Yeah, Jenna's like, oh, he's definitely going to come back, or he's thinking about coming back. I was like, no, it's over. So, Nick, the biggest takeaway for me was what he was able to accomplish after that 2005 injury.
And I think sometimes in the moment a guy retires, especially a guy we've been talking so much about for the last 15 years, you almost gloss over some of the first line on the resume stuff. And here's what Drew Brees unequivocally is. He is the greatest free agent signing in the history of the NFL. With respect to Reggie White, Drew Brees took that title from him when, and this is the second line on the resume, when he saved football in the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana. I think it is eminently reasonable to say, if not for Drew Brees remaking the Saints post-Katrina, the Saints would not have been able to remain in New Orleans. So that goes along with all of the statistical greatness that we showed leading up to this conversation. And listen, Brady's going to, in the couple categories where Brees is first all time, Brady's almost assuredly going to pass him this year. So Brees is going to finish second in almost every major passing category, but he's got a big cushion. Like touchdown passes where he's second. If you look at the great quarterbacks who are chasing him, Rodgers needs 160 to pass him. Russ needs more than 300 touchdown passes to pass him.
Wow.
And some of the other things, Wilds, that Drew Brees made feel commonplace. So there have been 14 seasons in NFL history where a quarterback completed 70% of his passes. Brees has 7. Every other quarterback ever has 7. There has been 12 seasons in NFL history where a quarterback threw for 5,000 yards. Brees has 5. Every other quarterback in NFL history has 7. So the super high volume, super high efficiency passer, Drew Brees kind of invented that and is on a corner by himself historically in that category. And that is the statistical legacy to go along with the bigger legacy, which I think is saving football in New Orleans.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I'm not a Saints fan. I never saw Drew Brees play in person, but I watched a lot of Saints games, and I think Drew Brees is one of the reasons why the NFL dominates TV ratings for a few reasons. One, that style of play like Nick was talking about, the guy was just fun to watch. He had 5,000-yard seasons. He led the league in passing per game 6 times. So you knew if you turned on a Saints game, it was going to be fun to watch. Also made the Saints super relevant. Like a generation before us, guys, the Saints were just like the laughing stock of the league. They went to the playoffs 5 times since 1967. Drew Brees gets there, takes them to the playoffs 9 times. Then the other part of it is, just like any great TV show, there was a lot of drama. There was a lot of surprises. There's a lot of twists and turns. Sometimes Drew Brees was on the opposite side of it. Sometimes they're getting winning the Super Bowl, putting the, little earmuffs on his son. But other times, the Minnesota Miracle, the pass interference, of course, and the offensive non-call pass interference was just kind of tough. Where you're like, Drew Brees, there was so much drama there. And Nick, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the one ring, since people are bringing that up. I don't think it's a knock against the guy at all. There's only a dozen guys in the history of the NFL who have more than one ring. And when you look at the list, if you were making starting a football team from scratch with every guy at their prime, it's not like you would say you know what? I definitely want Montana over Drew Brees, or I definitely want Brady over Drew Brees. I think the one ring, just because there's such a big gulf between him and Brady, doesn't really mean much. I still think you put him in that upper tier of elite guys.
Well, I think let me jump in real quick, because I think this is an instructive graphic, and I want the audience to leave it up there for a moment so the audience can kind of have it sink in, because I do think there are at least a handful of guys with 2 rings that without question people say, well, Brees is better than him. Listen, Brees is better than Eli. Brees is better than Bob Greasy. Brees is better than Big Ben. As far as the modern guys with 2 rings. But Brandon, I want to show you a different graphic, because I do think if one of these playoff runs had gone differently, I think Brees jumps a level. This is what I would consider your 15 best quarterbacks of the modern era. So with respect to guys basically starting with, don't worry, the guys pre-1970, Bart Starr, Fran Tarkington, those guys, take them out. I think Brees is a ring away if the Minneapolis Miracle doesn't happen, if the DPI is called, if maybe the pass interference on Kyle Rudolph is called, and they go on to win the Super Bowl. I think for the time being, he jumps up ahead of Rodgers. Instead, I think he's pretty securely right there, and that's where I think the legacy hit of not having the second ring comes into play, Brandon.
Yeah, but Nick, you just talked about how he invented the efficient quarterback. So right now when I'm looking at this pyramid, I put him in front of our guy, Terry Bradshaw and Roger and even Favre because of how he played the quarterback position and how he elevated the game. We're talking about a dude who mastered the process. What do I mean by process? Literally, when he wakes up in the morning until he goes to bed, there's nobody just locked in on a routine like Drew Brees. And we're talking about that trickling down from him all the way down to the damn scout team. So Drew Brees, man, the way he played the game, the way he approached the game is second to none. I would say he's ahead of all of those guys on that chart outside of probably Peyton Manning when it comes to that. Now, when it comes to winning championships, that's a whole nother conversation. Now we're talking about teams, we're talking about coaches. So I think it starts to peel back the layers. But Drew Brees, man, congratulations on an amazing career. And man, I can't wait to see the next chapter.
So can I put you on the spot real quick? Because, listen,
put me on the
he's
spot.
one of the greatest players ever. Because you mentioned Favre, and this is going to be tough, and we'll allow you to revise over the course of the show. Rank these three quarterbacks: Rodgers, Favre, Brees. Because that's how I would rank them. Rodgers, Favre, Brees. It sounds like I don't know where you have it. So that's those three guys.
I give you Rodgers. All right, that's one, and I give you Brees, then Favre, and I give you Favre like a distant third, seriously. Like Rodgers, he's number one, because Rodgers, a couple years ago, about 5-6 years ago, we were talking about Rodgers going down as potentially as the greatest quarterback ever. That's what everybody was talking about. And then all of a sudden, he couldn't get over the hump, the same thing we saw last year, and then insert Patrick Mahomes. And we know what Tom Brady is. Drew Brees, the numbers that I can't articulate that, those numbers better than you can. You just said it, man. You're talking about efficiency at the position. That is second to none. So we got to give respect to Drew Brees for how he approached the game and how he got it done every single Sunday for 20 years.
All right, so now what's next for the New Orleans Saints? Where do they go at quarterback? They do have Taysom Hill. He does have a shiny new contract extension.
You hear that?
We will discuss that still to come, but we got to talk a little.
I love it.
Tampa Tom makes Nick so happy. Hey, does Tom's extension mean he's playing until or even past age 45? We will discuss next. First things first. Taysom Hill.
What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to First Things First.
Got to play a little drawing a blank. We head to Tampa, pay a little homage to Tom Brady, who inked an extension over the weekend, keeping the GOAT in Tampa through the 2022 season, when Tom will be, crunch the numbers, 45 years young. So, Brandon, Brady's extension with the Bucs is blank.
It's a hidden message. That's what this is. Come on, man. Like, we know he signed a 4-year extension, but 3 are voidable. So it really gives him a 1-year extension, putting him in a Bucs uniform through 2022. This is Tom Brady telling us, guys, enjoy the last ride. We got this year, then the next year, and that's it. I'm off. Nick, everything you've been waiting for the past 10 years is finally about to happen. But you got to give it 2 more years. Don't hate. Just sit back, enjoy the GOAT just display greatness. This is Nick, the last 10 years, you're finally coming around. After it took his 7th Super Bowl for you to finally just relax and give this dude the respect. You've been wanting this dude to retire for damn near 5 to 6 years now. Tom Brady, 2022.
Yeah,
that's it.
I know. Yeah, that's great. That was just great. So listen, I'm happy for Tom. The answer is it's exactly what he wanted. Tom Brady has not been bashful about wanting to play until he's 45. It's quite literally the only personal, not team, the only personal goal he's ever publicly expressed, and he's expressed it for years. The Patriots didn't trust him to play till he's 43. The Bucs are showing you, we trust you to play till you're 45. So it's exactly what Brady wanted, Wilds.
You know, I like living in New York, best city in the world. But I saw the video that Tom Brady posted this weekend playing catch with David Beckham on the beach, and I said, you know what? Florida seems like a nice spot.
That's not
2
David
interceptions to David Beckham. Why don't I? No, that's not David Beckham. That's some other guy. That's like a promoter. Beckham isn't. That's Beckham right here taking his shirt off. That's not Beckham.
Okay,
Beckham has more tattoos. Okay. This guy's like, I'm going to catch the ball. Well, look, I think Tom Brady stays there, and you know what? Although I was like, hey, why would you ever leave the Patriots? This is pretty nice. It's 9 degrees right now in the Northeast. Old Tom Brady's throwing the football to David Beckham on the beach. So congratulations, Tom. You figured it all out.
That guy tried to steal the show.
Not that guy. Not that guy. Doesn't, I think. Head to Dallas now. Dak Prescott's agent is all kinds of fired up. Does not like that Russell Wilson included the Dallas Cowboys on his trade list. He said, quote, there's so many things wrong with it. I know. Brandon, Dak's agent being upset with Russ's trade request is blank.
Oversensitive. Todd France, I really like Todd France. There's a few agents that I've come in contact with that I truly built relationships with. Todd France is excellent. All you young football players out there, if you're looking for an agent, this could be a guy that you can interview. But Todd, you've been around the block, literally. You played the game, and now you've been managing players at the highest level for years. You know this is a ruthless game. You know this is dirty, and a lot of this is on you. If you would have got this deal done last year, then Russ would have never been put in a position to look at the Dallas Cowboys. So I would say that he's oversensitive because he knows the business of the NFL.
Wow. What a drive-by on Todd France. I'm about to have a drive-by on my colleague real quick. Hey, Wilds, if New York's the best city in the world, you should consider moving here from wherever you live an hour outside of the city where there's a beach. It's neither here or there. All right. So Wilds taunted me this week and showing me pictures of the beach at his house. Like, you have a beach at your house. All right, back to the point. This reminds me of Hollywood drama. From the moment that Dallas was listed, it reminded me of some Hollywood celebrity going on some zany morning radio show, and they're like, hey, do you have a celebrity crush? And they're like, yeah, I gotta tell you, I really like Jennifer Aniston. And they're like, oh, Us Weekly. He's got, like, she's in a relationship. Are they trying to break each other up? It just reminded me of great tabloid gossip. I don't know why I went Jennifer Aniston there. Where it's like, wait, you say you like that person, but that person's in a relationship. You say you like the Cowboys have Dak. So I understand why Todd France was a little put off by it. And I like the Hollywood drama coming to the NFL. I encourage more of this. Someone should say they want to play quarterback for the Chiefs. Just put that out there. I don't know who. Someone should say it and see what the Chiefs say. I want to see it. Well, I want to see it.
Russ should say it. Russ should say he wants to play for the Chiefs or the Bucs. Just add some more drama to it. In fact, I want this drama to crest because when you look at who the Cowboys play next year, they have 2 of Russ's destination opponents. They play the Saints, where Russ wanted to go, but that won't work. Play the Raiders. But you also have a 17th game, a mystery opponent that we don't quite know what's going to be. Make it Seattle. Russ not going anywhere. Like Dak versus Seattle. Oh, you wanted my job? Lighten up your defense. Take that. You're going to have to go somewhere else next year.
You know, I thought I was the most dramatic one on this panel, but y'all three are real dramatic. I don't know why I say it like that. On to free agency. Teams can start negotiating with free agents like this guy right here, Juju Smith-Schuster, today, noon Eastern. But Brandon Marshall, the most intriguing free agent that'll sign with a new team, in your opinion, is blank.
Ooh, before we go there, Juju, I need that left foot to hit first on that stop route. Left, right, left, and then come back to Big Ben. But anyway,
same thing, buddy.
I got to go with Kenny Golladay. I love Juju. Maybe Juju's going to be in Miami. But the guy I'm going with is this one, Kenny Golladay. You see, he just did it. Left, right, left. Come back to the quarterback, catch the ball, get upfield. Shoulders over your toes. But Kenny Golladay, he was injured last year, and it was kind of a chill year for him because of COVID, so he took it easy. But before then, he had back-to-back years over 1,000. This is a game changer. This is a dude that can come in right away and can easily give you 1,200, 1,300 yards a year, 10-plus touchdowns. He's a deep threat, but he can do it all. The whole route tree is available. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm calling this dude like, bro, hold off. There's some movement, but I need you to go here because you and I together would be devastating to the NFL. And then also, if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I'll look at it too. And then also, you got teams like the Green Bay Packers. Don't think they'll make a move like this because it'll probably cost you around $20, $21 million a year. But this dude is a game changer, and everybody need to look at him.
Wilds, I'm debuting a new character. Colin has Uncle Colin. I'm going to debut Nephew Nick. It's your pain in the butt, smart aleck nephew that tells you anytime he was right. Nephew Nick is here to remind America. Last week, when everyone was freaking out about Aaron Jones not being franchise tagged, old Nephew Nick said, I think he's going back to the Packers. And that same day, Nephew Nick said, oh, Shaq Barrett's got a deal in place with the Bucs. I'd like to see him sign it. Well, free agency opens in a few hours. Hadn't signed it yet. So the answer is Shaq Barrett. Oh, the Bucs had the perfect offseason. The Bucs brought everyone back except for the number one guy they wanted to bring back, who still is not back. So Wild's Nephew Nick is here to remind you we called this early. And by we, I mean me. And I love this character already. It's not going to get annoying at all.
Nicholas, do you remember when I break out this character? I wear glasses and I have my wonderful bird and I talk like an accent? That's a character. I talk differently and I'm a whole different person. You being annoying and telling people when you were right is not a character. That is called yourself on TV. My answer is Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney. I'm not saying he's a guarantee, but he's certainly intriguing. Was in the Pro Bowl 2018, played 8 games with the Titans, made a bunch of money, didn't really do much. Had 0 sacks, had 4 tackles for loss. But I am interested, and if he could have sort of a renaissance, get back to Pro Bowl form. Is it going to be with the Titans? I don't think so. I'm surprised Vrabel wasn't able to get him back to that level. So I think the most intriguing free agent is Clowney, Jenna.
Annoying and telling people you're right. Nick, that's just you on TV. Take a turn now to the NBA. It was great. Where the Sixers now in a wait-and-see mode after Joel Embiid went down on Friday. Is he now out of the MVP chatter? We'll discuss. First things first.
Wild, I'd tell you to say that to my face, but it'd be a 2-hour drive.
Hey, First Things First listeners. I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead. Download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports. Plus, a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Back here on First Things First, we got Chris Broussard with us. Broussard, we had a scary moment for the Sixers fans Friday night when Joel Embiid left the game after landing awkwardly, coming off that dunk. Thankfully, though, an MRI revealed no structural damage, just a bone bruise that'll sideline Joel for 2 weeks until he's reevaluated. Chris Broussard, how will Joel Embiid's injury impact the MVP race now moving forward, if at all?
Well, Jenna, it impacts it. It opens it up. It makes it wide open for LeBron James to win his 5th MVP award and match the greatest player of all time, Michael Jordan. So it's there for LeBron, but look at Embiid. He was my front runner at this point, and he was many people's front runner. If he comes back in 2 weeks and plays the rest of the season, which is obviously unlikely he usually sits out here and there, he will have still missed more than 20% of the games. No player has won the MVP award missing anything close to that since writers began voting in 1981. All right, so Embiid is essentially out of the MVP race. So it's there for the taking for LeBron James. The problem is this. The Lakers have only been 8-7 this season without Anthony Davis. Davis is out the next 2 weeks as well. If LeBron can lead them on a nice run without AD, he could put himself squarely in first place. They've lost 6 of their last 9, though, without Anthony Davis. So LeBron's got to pick it up and get the Lakers going without AD. Now, if Nick were a voter, which he's not, he would say that James Harden is not in this race. All right, James Harden is LeBron's biggest challenger at this point. But Nick says the way he left Houston disqualifies him from the race. Now, I'll give Nick this. If we were voting for president of the Glee Club or a leader of the church choir, I might be with him. Okay, but this is about hoop. This is about basketball. And James Harden is straight up balling. The Nets are 19-6 with him. They've won 12 of their last 13 with him. Basically all of it without Kevin Durant. And his numbers are fantastic. If the Nets run away from the rest of the East in the second half of the season and Harden continues to play this way, he's going to have a major chance to win it. Few other possibilities. Chris Paul, if Phoenix continues to be the second seed, which I don't see. And Luka, my preseason pick, and I think Knicks too, is making a run. Dallas the A seed, but they've won 11 of their last 14. Yeah. If they continue to move up and maybe get to a 4 seed, then Luka may have a chance. But right, it's there for the taking for LeBron James.
So, listen, I don't want to dive into the Harden stuff right now because it's a very interesting thing Broussard said. He was like, you can't miss 20% of the season and be MVP. Here's a guy, though, who, according to Broussard's numbers, has played 25 games, and he could win it. Wait, no, he played more than that. But some of those were in Houston, but those games don't count because those hurt his case. But they do count for his total numbers. I don't understand. Somebody galaxy brained that for me. But you left a name out. So here's the thing. I want to show a blind stat reveal and put Broussard up with me if we can show this. Broussard, looking at these two people, would you agree that they have damn near identical arguments? If I were to tell you their teams have almost identical records, would you say those two arguments are about the same? Okay, show who those two people are, because one of them you didn't mention. Okay, so I have a question for you and then I want to respond. Why is Giannis not on the list? Why is he not included?
Right now, because, well, he's not a front runner because Milwaukee's not having a great season record-wise. He's in the race. Now, is it impossible? The fact that he's won the last 2 and then fizzled in the playoffs will work against him. But winning 3 straight is not impossible, especially in this season. But you're right. I left him out. But he can be in the race.
Most people are arguing the reason Giannis is not even a forethought is because of what happened in last year's playoffs. Because he won last year and because he fizzled out in the playoffs. And if that is going to work against Giannis, I asked Chris Broussard, our esteemed MVP voter, if last year's playoffs can work against someone, why are they not allowed to work for someone? So last year in the playoffs, LeBron was amazing. We can't talk about it. It's a regular season this year award. Last year in the playoffs, Giannis stunk. We have to talk about it, even though it's a regular season I'm confused. So the playoffs from last year count negatively against Giannis, and the fact that he won it last year counts negatively against Giannis. But LeBron, the fact that he didn't win it and hasn't won it in 7 years, can't count for him, and the fact that he was the best player in the playoffs can't for. It just seems odd to me. Can you explain that as a voter? Because I'm not a voter, so I don't know what you guys talk about in your meetings. Explain it to me, please.
You know good and well we don't have meetings. But anyway, it's not just that LeBron or Giannis won it last year. It's that he won it the last 2 years. Okay, he won the MVP last 2 years and fizzled out in the playoffs both times. Now, for some voters, it may not be a factor. If the Milwaukee Bucks came out and were winning at the pace they won that last year, Giannis would be right there in the race. I guarantee you. They were on a 70-win pace last year. They're not this year. They're third in the East. That's the problem. It's the same reason LeBron doesn't have more than 4. Because when he was in Cleveland his second go-round, they won 52 games, 50 games. Like, he coasted. The team didn't play as well in the regular season. And regular season record is a factor. Milwaukee is kind of experimenting with some defensive things. They're not winning as much because they know it's really about the playoffs for us. So that's the reason. Again, if Giannis were winning at the same clip as last year, oh, you better believe he'd be up there. Because Larry Bird, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain have won 3 straight. So it's not impossible to win 3 straight MVP awards.
I'm so annoyed with you guys. Y'all know so much about basketball, and y'all been covering it for so long, but yet y'all continue to get this conversation wrong. Look, so the question is, does Embiid's injury impact the MVP race? Absolutely. 72 games. He's already missed 8. Let's put it at 3 weeks. They said, they're going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks. I had the same injury. He can get back on the court, let's say in a week, potentially 2. But let's put it at 3 just to be safe. Big dude, he's carrying a lot of weight, a lot more weight than the average guy. So let's say that's another 12 games. That's those 20 games that you talked about, Chris. And then he's never been a guy that played every single game. So down the stretch, he's probably going to miss a handful of games. So he's definitely out of it. But here's my thing. This MVP trophy, this MVP deal, it's not a charity case. So you keep talking about LeBron, and we're not highlighting James Harden enough. Like LeBron James, you guys just said it. Without AD, he's lost 6 out of 9. And we're talking about winning. Well, he's trending in the wrong direction. Now, going on a run, that's going to be easy out of the break. We look who they're playing: Minnesota, Golden State, Charlotte. Yeah, it's not daunting at all. But after that, after the month of March, let's see where the Lakers are, and depending on where AD's at. James Harden, on the other hand, he hasn't had his number 1 player. He hasn't had KD. And what have they been doing? Nothing but win. This dude is playing phenomenal. This is the dude that came in out of shape. This is the dude that they said he's not going to be able to adapt. So for me, yes, Embiid is out of it probably, so it's going to be hard for him, Wild. But when you look at James Harden, to me, it's James Harden's damn MVP to lose, not LeBron James and not Jokic.
Ooh. All right, Broussard, the thing that I'm trying to figure out, since you're the only real voter, is who do you think the narrative leans to? Since the numbers are going to be similar, like we just saw Giannis, who do you think do you feel like the narrative is trending towards LeBron? Because we know if you do something special one year, like Russ had the narrative, then he averaged triple-double again, it's like, well, you lost the narrative. And James Harden, whatever numbers you want to put up there, it feels like the narrative is lost. Versus LeBron feels like the narrative is gaining. Who do you think is leading the narrative race?
That's a great point, Wilds. LeBron's clearly got the narrative race. And now I try not to vote on narrative. I try to go on who had the best season, but LeBron definitely has the narrative, and I'm sure it affects some voters. There's no doubt about it. Like, people want to see LeBron get it. He has been the best player in the world the last 10 years and hasn't won an MVP in a long time. I'm not saying I'm voting for him because of that, but that is a factor. Harden, because, with Nick, he was so nasty in Houston. Oh, my gosh. How can you give it to him? There are other guys that feel that way. He hurt Nick's feelings, so it means some guys feel that way. But I'm telling you, Brandon's right.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Wait. Harden is playing too well.
No. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Does the whole season...
Why you interrupt the guy when he say I'm right?
Does the whole season count for MVP? Does game 1 count? Does game 7?
No, he was... he was in Houston for 9 games.
Direct questions
yes.
Okay, so 9 over 72. That's actually easy math. That's 1/8. So that's 12.5% of the season. So if 12.5% of the season he gets an F. Would you agree?
He doesn't get an F.
Well,
his first game, he had
Houston.
44.
He was valuable.
And his first 3 games, he was balling.
And they
so
were
if
1
you
and
want
2.
to say what,
and they were
5,
1 and 2, and
5
you
or
just
6?
told me, no.
Okay, so over
you
3 game stretch, you're holding against him. If 5, hold on. If you want to hold those 5 or 6 games against, okay,
it's 9
they
games.
were 1 and 2 in Houston with him balling.
He was not valuable. No.
Stop it, Nick. This is ridiculous.
Guys,
you've got to answer this question. Wait, hold on. Wait.
What?
You got to answer this question.
A 9-game stretch. What they go?
Jenna, hold on. Was he valuable to Houston? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Because when he played hard,
crazy.
when he played hard,
James Harden,
they won.
he's going to win the Man of the Year for Houston this year. I buy that. 12.5% of the season, he was a 0.
All right. Listen, I promise you we'll have more time to talk about this. It might be off the air. We got to talk some medals. Nick gave him out. There's no disputing that. How about Rudy Gobert? 24 points, 28 rebounds. It's good, but the Jazz lost to the Warriors. It's bad. So no medal for Rudy. Also, guys, important to note, fun fact, in French, Rudy Gobert is pronounced Rudy Gobert. Nick, who we got from the weekend?
What would we have done without that note? Rudy, sorry, not enough screen assists, my man.
Literally everything.
Sorry, Jenna, I couldn't resist. Bronze medalist, Zion. Hey, wait, Clippers. Hey, Clippers. Maybe rim protection is something you left off the shopping list another year. Oh, those scary Clippers. Zion ate your lunch all night. Good job, Zion. Silver medalist, Russ from Saturday night. I would argue Russ's best game as a Wizard. 42, 10, and 12. Russell Westbrook, who hasn't played for the Rockets this year, but actually added more value to them than James Harden did this season. Gold medalist, Jimmy Butler. Don't look at the Heat now. They've won 10 of 11. 29, 7, 9, 5 steals. It's the red-hot Miami Heat. Here's a question people are asking. Has a guy ever finished in the top 5 of MVP voting when not being an all-star? That's what Jimmy Butler's going for. Broussard, that's your medalist. I'm really legitimately angry at my colleagues, and I took it out on Jenna, and I apologize for that. Go ahead, Broussard.
Wouldn't be the first time.
No, that was fine. I don't know that Jimmy Butler will be in the top 5 MVP voting, but he has led Miami on the surge. But guess who beat up on Miami? The Brooklyn Nets with James Harden. That's right. Nick, let the Houston thing go,
That's not about medals. That's not about medals. When did that happen?
Well, bring us back. Who just missed the cut?
Oh, the only thing worse or better, actually, than an aggressive technical foul, the low-key technical foul. Bingo. Just like that. It's almost like a game show. I like it. More low-key technical fouls. Love it. Also, that is good, too. That's what Jenna's do for me for now. Out of here, Nick. You? Technical foul for that Rudy Gobert comment. Out of here.
After that Rudy Gobert line. Back to New Orleans. Change it up. Drew Brees hanging him up. Job opening under center. Who's going to be the guy come week 1 for the New Orleans Saints? Have that next. First things first. Rudy
Jenna,
Gobert.
I apologize. Broussard, I mean everything.
Back here talking Russell Wilson now, where according to the latest report out of Seattle, crickets on the trade front. It was a small article. The Seahawks, meanwhile, appear to be in on giving Russ what he's asked for, help on that offensive line. Seahawks reportedly evaluating potential O-line fits. That on the heels of free agency. Opening up in how long? Oh, I don't know, 2 days. Here it comes. Brian Westbrook is back with us now. But Brandon, let me start with you. Can the Seahawks save the relationship with Russ at this point?
Absolutely. But it's going to take for them to do exactly what they're doing, looking at offensive linemen and not just doing what they have always done in signing guys. And we're talking about dudes like, this is a project guy, or this is a guy that's coming off of 2 down years, but he was all pro 2-3 years ago. No, what they need to do is prioritize the position. I think what Russell Wilson is looking for is, how much are we allocating to this position? You got the Raiders, they're sitting around 50-something million a year. And then you got the Dolphins. So he's looking at that and seeing, is this really a priority for us? If it is, then you want to make it a priority with your checkbook. And I also think when you look at the offensive line, there's one guy on that offensive line, that is a staple, and that's Dwayne Brown. And Dwayne Brown is getting up there in age. But everybody else, those dudes are second string at the best on any other team. So the thing that needs to happen for them to get past this is Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson have to become partners. What do I mean by that, Brandon? Like, what do you mean by that, Brandon? Like, you know, it's a head coach and you got a quarterback. Well, Russell Wilson makes way more money than Pete Carroll. Like, this is bigger than just a coach and a player relationship. This needs to be a partnership. Now, not every player has this right. Not every player has this privilege. But when you're talking about Russell Wilson and how much he means to this organization, you guys really have to give him a seat at the table. Now, I was there. Part of this is on Russell. Russell, he likes every shiny toy. You know, oh, my goodness, DK Metcalf, love him. You got DK Metcalf. Oh, Antonio Brown. And then you got Josh Gordon. You got this and that. So it comes a point where maybe John Snyder and then also Pete Carroll's like, all right, Russ, like, we can't get everybody. But what happens is a lot of the things that Russell is saying in passing is going in one ear and out the other. And Russell never called him out on it. Now he's getting fed up because he's seeing Tom Brady, you know, hoist his 7th Lombardi trophy. He's seeing everybody talk about Mahomes and even the old Aaron Rodgers. He's like, well, what about me? Like, why am I not in this discussion? So not only does he want to win, but he wants to win with flair. He wants to win in high fashion, Nick. So Russell Wilson needs to become a partner for this thing to work. Now, Pete Carroll, is he willing to do that? Probably not. And so this thing can explode. But Russell Wilson needs to have a seat at the table.
Brandon, in the last 90 minutes, it got a little bit harder for Seattle because their left guard, Mike Iupati, retired after the season. There was a left guard available because of Giants cap constraints and Kevin Zeitler. He actually played with Russ at Wisconsin. I know there were some reports saying this would make a lot of sense, and because of the way he was cut, you could sign him before free agency. And you know who did this morning per Adam Schefter? The Baltimore Ravens. So that's one less little potential, hey, look, Russ, look what we did for you. That's now gone. Your old teammate, your old left guard. Nope, he now plays for the Ravens, who had to replace Marshall Yanda to help their franchise quarterback in Lamar Jackson. What I think, Brian, the Seahawks have working for them is pieces keep getting taken off the chessboard. Dallas removed itself. New Orleans never should have been on the chessboard because they have no way to make this work financially. And you have Chicago, which all the reports out of Chicago are they're going to make an amazing offer. But whatever offer they provide, they can't provide the one thing that I would think Seattle has to get back. Either a quarterback or a pick with which they can draft a quarterback. Seattle doesn't have, or Chicago doesn't have that. So I do think Seattle, if those were really the only 4 teams Russ would go to, there's only one left, really, that to me is realistic. That's Vegas. Now, Vegas has, I couldn't believe this, I read this stat this weekend, they have been above 500 once in 18 years. One time. So if Vegas wants to step up and say, we'll give you Derek Carr and a bunch of first-round picks, maybe this gets done. But otherwise, Brian, I wonder if Seattle's mindset is, we'll do some of what you want, Russell, but you should have picked a better list because that list is quickly becoming 1 and at most 2 teams, and those teams got to present a reasonable offer.
You know, Nick, when you talk about Vegas, I read a report last week that Mike Mayock said that Derek Carr is our guy. And that's not to say that guys and GMs and presidents don't change their mind over the course of time, but usually you don't come out and say that and then you go trade for another quarterback. So I just don't see that happening either. You know, to me, this all goes back to that Super Bowl. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember seeing Russell Wilson and Sierra watching down the field at Patrick Mahomes and all the weapons that he has, Tom Brady and all the weapons that he has. And he didn't look happy. He didn't look happy at all up there in that suite. He was sitting there with Roger Goodell and his beautiful wife, and they were just sitting there. They were having a great conversation, and Russell Wilson was pouting because he was jealous. He was upset. And to me, this play has all been about getting some control with that front office as far as in Seattle, having some say-so in the things that are going to go on in that front office, but getting more weapons around them. You have great wide receivers. You have the ability to run the football. And I think now you have to get that offensive line. You got a brand new offensive coordinator. And I think that plays a big part. Shane Waldron is a guy that was a passing game coordinator for the Rams. He is a balanced offense type of guy. You're not going to be all run focused. Now Russell Wilson can throw the ball a little bit more. They can be more aggressive there. But in order to do that, you have to find a way to protect your quarterback. And for me, from the beginning, this is what this was all about. Being able to find players to put around Russell Wilson to protect him so he's not getting banged up from the quarterback position.
Hey, Brandon, doesn't this feel like a looming divorce? Like, there's problems in the marriage. Like, well, yeah, we got divorced yesterday. Like, you did? Yesterday? That was fast. Versus like, yeah, 2 years ago, remember how we were having problems? Yeah, we made it official. Doesn't it feel like that? And doesn't it feel a little bit like Tom Brady, that there was problems in New England, kept winning? It's like, all right, by the way, my house is for sale now, even though I'm going to play the full year, and then I leave. So it feels like Russ will give it one more year. Unless they win the Super Bowl, this is just going to get worse and worse and worse. Then Seattle will also be in a financially advantageous position to move on from Russ next year, because this year there's cap hit would be 39. Next year it'll be 26. That's numbers courtesy of our resident GM before the meeting.
Right.
So do you think this year it feels like he stays? Next year, do you see him going?
No, I think Russ is going to put pressure on him. Like, Nick, you just talked about the Baltimore Ravens stepping up and taking that guard off the board. The more those things happen, I think the more angry Russell Wilson gets and the more pressure he puts on Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks. You're 100% right, Wilds, where this relationship, we're talking about phenomenal relationship between Russell Wilson and starting with the city of Seattle, then going to the ownership, and then Pete Carroll and John Snyder and everyone in that locker room. That relationship between him and Pete is fabulous. I mean, that's what you dream of when you put together your organization and you say, okay, these two guys got this. This has to fit, and they have to work well together. But the reality is that now Russell Wilson is stepping into his own. And I think once the Legion of Boom was broken up, then they gave it to Russell Wilson, and it took him time to say, you know what, I am the guy. He just led by example. Yeah, Russ was raw. He said those things. Now he literally has to lead this organization. And this is the first time he's felt comfortable sitting down with management and talking in black and white. Like, I know we are friends. I know we love each other, but this is about business now. And that's what you're seeing. So if they don't make it right, then yeah, it could be one more year. But Russell Wilson is putting the pressure on Seattle right now to make it right, because he see everybody else achieving things at a high level. And don't get it twisted. He wants to be right in all of those discussions on television. He wants all the awards. He wants to win Super Bowls. And like I said earlier, he wants to do it in high fashion.
You know which team doesn't have a quarterback issue right now? The Green Bay Packers. They had a running back issue, but not anymore. Packers signed Aaron Jones up over the weekend. But is that enough to get the Pack to Super Sunday? Find out next. Brian, thank you as always. Packers. Green Bay Packers did a thing over the weekend. Re-signing Pro Bowl running back Aaron Jones. 4 years, $48 million. How about this? His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, said, quote, Aaron would have signed for more in free agency, but he wanted to stay in Green Bay. That's so agenty. Jones took to Twitter after signing. He said this, let's run it back. Got former Packers great Greg Jennings joining us now. Greg, does re-signing just him being there, just the whole aura of being in Green Bay, we're running that part back. Greg, does re-signing Aaron Jones give Aaron Rodgers enough to win a Super Bowl next year, or does he still need more?
He needs more. He needs more. It was proven last year against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, Aaron Jones was there, and even more were there that they're trying to bring back even this year in free agency. Robert Tonyan and Corey Linsley. There's a lot of moving parts for the Green Bay Packers outside of just Aaron Jones. I think this was huge for them to be able to re-sign Aaron Jones and him wanting to be back with Green Bay. But I think a lot of this is going to be, again, put on Aaron Rodgers. And I would love to see him start kind of calling and putting out, like Tom Brady has done, like so many players do nowadays, using their social platforms to really bring on other pieces. Nick, you mentioned last week, and you've mentioned a few times about Odell Beckham. Like, you got to start sowing those seeds. If you want to win and you want to win now and you want to trump what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are trying to do again down there, you got to start requesting and trying to put out little fillers if you're Aaron Rodgers. And he is the one that can do that, because free agents aren't just going to say, oh, yeah, I want to go to Green Bay. No, Aaron Rodgers has to make it attractive and make them believe that, look, we're trying to do something special. I'm all in. Everyone in this organization is all in. So it is on Aaron Rodgers. As much as everybody loves to say his play on the field, I think this free agency and this market right now, it's on Aaron Rodgers to sell his team.
Well, and I know no one is connecting this player with the Packers, but the best move they could do is a move that strengthens them and weakens the team that knocked him out of the playoffs last year. So the best thing they could do is go offer a bucket of money to Shaq Barrett and say, Zadarius Smith, Shaq Barrett, those are our bookend pass rushers, and we weaken the Tampa Bay Bucks. But even if they don't do that, if the Packers aren't Super Bowl contenders, then almost no one is. Matt LaFleur's been there 2 years. They've been 13-3 in the conference championship game both years. And I know we've memory hold this, but they are a, let me call it, very questionable defensive pass interference call away from getting the ball back down 5 points against the Bucks in a second half where they had opportunity after opportunity to overcome the hole they built themselves in the first half, most notably the terrible end of the first half where Rodgers threw that bad pick and then they allowed Scotty Miller to get deep. So Brandon, I don't think the Packers are miles away from contending. I think they are one of the top tier contenders because they have a healthy Aaron Rodgers. They were 13-3 last year. And Brandon, if they're not contenders, then who in the NFC is other than Tampa? Who?
Yeah, but that's all they are, though, Nick. I caught a lot of flack before the year because I said, you know what? The Aaron Rodgers era was wasted by the Green Bay Packers. One Lombardi trophy? Like one in the Aaron Rodgers era? Are you kidding me? So this conversation is the same every year. Well, we know they're going to be in it, but they just don't get over the hump. Aaron Jones, he's a dog. We all know that. 30 touchdowns in 30 games. Of course, their chemistry, it makes them better. Like, they need to keep this. But what you said is absolutely right. Go get Shaq Barrett. I truly believe he's going to go back to Tampa, but go get Shaq Barrett. And you know what else they're missing, Greg and Wilds? They're missing that guy that can just be disruptive on the defensive side, right? Like, you don't need to be a top 10 defense. You need to be right around 15. But you know what you absolutely need? You need like a honey badger. You need like Earl Thomas. And I'm not saying go get Earl Thomas, but like Earl Thomas in his prime. A dude that can turn the ball over and give Aaron Rodgers in that offense more opportunities. Greg, you know this. Even going back to when you was playing for Green Bay, the offensive side was never an issue. It's still not an issue. They probably would have went to the Super Bowl if their offensive line was a little bit more healthy. So they're always in this conversation as contenders. And then you just look at the defense side. Okay, can I get a little bit of help here?
Agreed. You're spot on. You got to find ways to get Aaron Rodgers the ball back because, as you mentioned, that offense is going to put up points. Nick, you talked about Matt LaFleur. He's been great. Like, everything that he's done over the last 2 years, his first 2 years as the Green Bay Packers head coach, has been excellent. People will question, should he have gone for it on fourth down in that NFC Championship game? But outside of that, you can't question what his resume provides right now. And to be honest, if you can get somebody defensively, that is a game changer, and add another piece alongside Devontae Adams, even Robert Tonyan, if you can get him back and his play is definitely is pointing the right direction, which is up, this team has a chance. But to your point, Brandon, contender is what the chance is. It's not where the Bucks are.
Every year we say the same thing. It's a good point. Greg, thank you so much. We got to get back to our top story now. Drew Brees calling it a career after 20 amazing seasons. We're talking to Saints linebacker Demario Davis on the other side. This is First Things First. Back here talking Drew Brees now. Longtime Saints quarterback announced his retirement over the weekend after 20 remarkable NFL seasons. Next stop, Canton, no doubt, where he'll eventually meet Tom Brady, no doubt. Brady tweeted this: "Congrats, my friend, on an incredible career. Thank you for the inspiration and dedication on and off the field. Look forward to seeing what's next." Russell Wilson tweeting, "Amazing career, Drew Brees, legend. Thanks for all you did for me and the game." And Saints receiver Michael Thomas said, quote, "Took it to the extreme or didn't feel honest. Love you. Congratulations on the amazing career. You are the best." And speaking of Saints, we got one of Drew's teammates, All-Pro linebacker Demario Davis, joining us now. Demario, good morning. You spent 3 seasons with Drew Brees. What was your reaction when he finally made it official? You may have surmised and you may knew it. When it finally became official, what was your reaction?
I think I had so many emotions. I think the biggest one is just honor and happiness for him. When you know you had a chance to play with somebody who, the minute they walk away from the game, they're a first ballot Hall of Famer. And not just a first ballot Hall of Famer, but one of the greatest to ever play the game. You had a chance to spend 3 years around that person, learning from them, watching them, studying them, seeing their approach, and even forming a relationship off the field. You're just happy for an individual like that because he's truly riding off into the sunset the right way. And so just happy for him.
So, B. Marshall here. When I touched down in New Orleans at the beginning of December, I think it was, Seattle cut me, 2018, I believe it was. Then I got an opportunity to come down there with you boys. There's a few things that jumped out to me, but the number one thing that jumped out to me was exactly what Can Guard Mike just talked about, Michael Thomas. He's talking about if you didn't take it to the extreme, it didn't feel honest. And what I saw was Coach Payton being there until midnight at times game planning. And then on the offensive side, I saw Drew Brees' approach. I saw him literally stand in front of a mirror for 30 minutes going through the game plan, rocking back and forth. I saw Michael Thomas, he never talked to anybody. He just went out there and walked through. In the Ritz-Carlton, the day of the game, break out in a full sweat, running while everybody else was doing a walkthrough. Just next level stuff. And then I saw you. I saw you on the defensive side be the first guy out there every single day with a piece of paper in your hand going through the script. And I asked you one day, I said, bro, this is not the same Demario Davis that I saw in New York when we were playing for Coach Bowles. I said, bro, did you learn this from Drew Brees? And so my question again is, how much did you learn from Drew Brees that took your game and everybody else's game in the building to a whole nother level?
Yeah, that's the thing that I'll speak on the most in any conversation for the rest of my life about Drew Brees is his process. His process is bar none. I mean, every second is used in an intentional manner from the time he walks into the building to the time he leaves. And that's something that I definitely took and added to my game. You can see, he's such a visual person. I'm a visual person, visual learner. I see things in my mind. And I saw how he would, go through walkthroughs on Saturday for an hour just out on the field. And it was almost like he was in the game. And so I started to do that type of mental preparation and started to focus in on my process. And I've heard John Wooden talk about it. John Wooden talked about the results are a byproduct of the product. The real product is the process. And I saw that lived out in Drew Brees. And it helped me add that to my game. And I think that's the reason why I've had some of the best years of my career here as a Saint.
Did you feel, because this is something similar we've heard about your guys' divisional rival, the Bucs, with Brady, that there is a downward pressure on everyone else in the organization when the highest paid, most accomplished guy, the oldest guy also, is not necessarily executing, that goes along with it, but working at that level? Did you see that for younger guys or other guys, in addition to yourself, that there is a standard that is set not necessarily by the coach, but by the quarterback of the team that everyone must meet?
Well, I think this organization is unique in that regard of that I believe it's something that they established as a culture back in 2006 when Sean got here and they brought Drew in and Mickey and all the guys. They've established a culture like that. It's not just Drew. Drew was a big part of that demands you bring out your best or take it to the extreme, as Mike and Brandon alluded to. But it's everybody in the building. When you have an all-pro quarterback, you got an all-pro receiver, you got an all-pro defensive end, you got one of the top running backs in the game, you got a top tight end in the game, you got one of the top corners. I mean, everybody's playing at that level because, A, they got the ability to, but A, it's the environment. You have to play at that level to keep up. You know, for Marshawn to come in and practice against Mike Thomas, if he don't bring his A game, he gonna get killed on the day. You know, if me as a linebacker, I'm going against Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara. If I step out on practice field and not on my A game, you know, I'm going to get ate up. Also, I'm going against one of the greatest offensive minds to ever be a part of the game in Sean Payton. So you have to bring that intensity every single day. It's just part of the culture. It's the only way you can survive in this culture.
So the first time in 15 years, Saints fans are going to head into the season, and players, not knowing who the quarterback is going to be, or not having Drew Brees back there. There's been a debate, maybe Jameis comes back, maybe Taysom gets the reins and just runs with it. From what you've seen of Jameis and Taysom, can you shed some light on either who you think should be the starting quarterback or just some positive attributes that maybe we don't hear about in the media?
Well, I know we have two guys that are over there that are capable of playing in games, and they have for us, and both have gone in the game and had tremendous success. We know what Taysom can do as a dual threat quarterback. We know what Jameis can do. He's proven it throughout his career, and the times he's gone in the game for us, he's made some big plays and done exactly what the coaches have asked. You know, our mentality on defense is we've had to step out there no matter who it was, you know, taking snaps, because we've had in the past two seasons longer stints where Drew has gone down, and, you know, we had to rise to the occasion. And so that, as a defensive player, that's my mentality is whoever's over there taking the snaps, we just need them to manage the game. For us defensively, you know, we feel like we had the ability to win them. And so that's what we got to be prepared to do no matter who's taking the snaps for us. But I trust our organization is going to do what they need to do to put us in the best situation to win.
That's a very political answer, Demarius. It was very well said, very well crafted. You got through the whole answer without having to name a name. I like it. I'm on board. Hey, my question is, why do you think it took Drew Brees so long to make it official? Do you think there was a part of him that looked at the way you guys ended the season, the way he played in that last game, and said, I know that if healthy, my ribs are great, if everything's good, maybe there's one more year left? Do you think he needed to convince himself that he was done? I mean, was there any part of you that thought maybe he might come back for another season?
But I think that's tough for everybody that ever plays this game. We all know that Sean talks about it all the time. Eventually, it's going to come a day where we all have to get off this train, and we're going to all be better for it for having had an opportunity to ride on it. And I think that's tough for any athlete that's played the game at this high of a level to say, you know what, it's time for me to hang them up. It's over. Everybody's going to have that battle, and it's not going to be, no matter what type of career you have, especially somebody who's been at the top for 20-something years, you know, that's going to be a tough moment. And I think he wanted to be sure. I think he wanted to make sure that he was doing what was best for him, what was best for his family. And, you know, he made a decision. And I don't know all the intricacies that went into that for him to make that final decision, but he did. And all we can do is be happy for him and be grateful that we got to experience and witness this illustrious career.
All right, D, I heard how you answered Wild's question, talk about the culture going back to 2006, and it was everybody outside of Drew Brees. But, bro, I was there, and I saw it. Man, it starts with Drew Brees. I remember coming out of meetings, sitting in my locker, putting on my tape, putting on my cleats, right, looking at the schedule and saying, we got to be out for at walkthrough at 11 a.m. I look around, it's 11:02. And all you over there playing ping pong with your script in your hand, doing two things, trying to multitask. I had Mark Ingram over here in his locker. He's dancing, doing some weird things. And then you got Michael Thomas going through his routine and Alvin Kamara just sitting there chilling. And I looked and I'm like, guys, the schedule says 11 a.m. Why aren't we out there? And then everybody looked over to the right of the locker room. They looked at Drew Brees. They said, Breezy ain't there. We good. Breezy run the whole show, even when practice starts. Sean Payton kept him late. He said, I still got to go get in the sauna. I still got to do my deal. So I'm saying all that to say this. When you lose somebody like that, it could be very deflating. Should the Saints feel optimistic right now or deflating given the situation, talking about arm talent and everything?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, there's no secret. You know, Drew Brees was our general. He was the general and one of the greatest generals you could ever have. But any kingdom that you have, you know, when you lose the general or the king or whoever that piece may be, you got to have a succession plan. And I think that has already been in place. We've had to go long periods without our general. And so it's not like we can't do it. I mean, if you look at our record in the game where Drew wasn't playing, I think we may have lost one game. And so I don't know that specifically, but I mean, we've shown that in the past two seasons that we could play without Drew. And so it's never replacing. There's no replacing a general like that. I know what it's like to have a great quarterback and to play in games where you don't. I've had a career where I played with both, and it's a big difference. So we're not going to act like that doesn't mean, you know, a major part. All I'm saying is we have proven that we can do it. When we didn't have him. And so that's just, it is what it is. I mean, the game goes on. And so you can't sit and, you know, complain about what's there and what's not there. You got to keep it moving. Everybody that's played this game understands that.
Well, I heard how you answered Wilds, and then I heard you answer Jenna's question. And you really didn't answer Jenna's question. You didn't give a name. So you said y'all have a plan in place. Is it Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston?
I'm telling you, the plan is defense.
Here we go.
You're not hearing. You're not hearing.
You're not hearing. Well, let me hear with you.
Let me follow up on that. Because I think that's actually, and I don't blame him, he can't give an answer there. We know what the answer is, but he can't say it. The defense thing is an interesting point, though, because Wilds mentioned this earlier before you came on. Drew Brees missed 9 games the last 2 years. Y'all are 8-1. Last year, I think it's odd to say because it's the New Orleans Saints with Sean Payton and Drew Brees, but I think last year one could argue the biggest strength of your team was your defense. So now that the general is gone and there are, you know, Teddy Bridgewater won some of those 8-1. He obviously doesn't play for the team anymore. Jameis is not yet under contract. Taysom has been best used as a kind of a gadget guy. So whomever's at quarterback, it's going to be very different than before. What do you, Cam Jordan, and the other defensive leaders, do you look at this almost as an opportunity to show the football world outside of New Orleans that as much as we love and respect Drew, we were more than just, you know, Drew Brees and 52 guys? And do you think the defense can continue on the trajectory it was on, I would argue, the second half of last season?
Well, you just mentioned it. The same thing I said in the games that we've had to play without Drew. We're 8-1 in the past 2 years, and I think that has been the narrative that, you know, it was an offensive-led team, or, you know, is Drew's team. Just historically it has been that, but there has been a sort of a changing of the guards or a shifting at the helm that you could visibly see if you were looking at it, and so. Now we have to go from doing it in a period of time, which is 4 or 5 games per season, to doing it, you know, over an entire season. You know, putting together 16 games like that, being able to do it in the playoffs when it matters the most. And I think that's a charge that we're more than willing to take up. We've already been doing it. Now we just have to be even more intentional. It's going to force us to be intentional in that regard.
Especially with you with that C on your chest and you being that general that you talked about. to me, bro, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show, and then also hats off to your career. We go back to 2015 when we were teammates, and then in that offseason, we had to make a decision, who did we want to bring back? And they let you go. You went to Cleveland, didn't work out there. Then you found your way to New Orleans, and everybody's like, whoa, who is this Double D guy? How does he become an all-pro in back-to-back years? So, dude, bro, amazing career so far, and I know you guys are going to be in good hands on that defensive side with you leading the way. And I just wanted to give you a shout-out because you came on here and you talked all about Drew Brees. It is Drew Brees' moment, but the New Orleans Saints is in great hands with you with that C on your chest, Jenna.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. Blessing.
Well, Demario, you and I were never teammates, but I feel like we would have been great teammates just if we had played together. I'm a better football player than you think. But before you go, I want to talk about what the initiative you're working on now. You're partnering with Drew Brees and Josh Norman on the Shield One Foundation. Tell us less about you and I as potential teammates and more about what you guys are doing with Shield One.
Yeah, thank you. You know, at the end of the day, the game is fun, and it's a blessing to be able to play the game, but what's more impactful is how we use our platform, and that's what we've come together to do. Shield One is essentially just a crisis response vehicle. We will go to cities that are hurting. You have to understand when things like COVID-19 are going on, when there's social unrest, some communities can catch a cold, but the ones who are that face disparities, they catch pneumonia. And so we want to find those communities, identify the organizations on the ground, connect them with legislation, and provide opportunities so that those people can have access to pretty much life and life sustainability. And we have a project going on in Minnesota right now. Anybody wants to know about that can go on shield1.org, where we're trying to create sustainability. You know, when they have COVID-19 going on in Minneapolis and the social unrest that happened back last year with George Floyd, people lost access to food, people lost access to medical service. And that's what we're trying to come in and do, is create that access, but create sustainability in the community to where once we step out, they still can exist and they still can sustain. And so there's a campaign because an organization found a way to create food security for their people, no matter what hits. If a grocery store burns down or anything happens in the community, they found a way to create food security for that community. And so what we went in and did was try to make that model where it can happen for 365 days, no matter what's going on, and make sure that those people have access to medical services, not closed off, and help eliminate the disparity in that community. So anyone who wants to know about that, look at shield1.org. We got great player support in the league, got great support from the front office, awesome. So it's been good.
It sounds great work there. Demario Davis, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you,
enjoy your off season, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. We will shift gears now. Take a little break. He's off. Got to get back to our Russell Wilson conversation. Are the Seattle Seahawks ready to make Russ a very happy camper? That is next. First things first. On Sunday, the best season ever continues on Fox as NASCAR Cup Series rolls into Atlanta, where every turn is its own test. Bum, bum, bum. The promo gets me excited. You catching all the action for the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. It's 3 o'clock Eastern on Fox and anywhere on the Fox Sports app. Good stuff. Time now for stories to start your morning. Sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. And yes, we're talking Drew Brees this morning. I mean, look, I think we all thought he was done after last season, 20 in the NFL, but then he posted that workout video, and we thought maybe. But yesterday, Drew Brees made it official on Instagram, thanked everyone in his circle, said it's not goodbye, instead it's a new beginning. Brees finishes his career as one of the best we've ever seen at the position. Brandon, you spent time with Drew in New Orleans. What was your reaction to his retirement yesterday?
Yeah, Jenna, next time, can you say everybody else on television except Brandon Marshall thought that he was contemplating coming back? Because I was the one that was like, guys, he is tricking y'all right now. This dude is done. And we showed the video of him kissing his wife. Nobody does that after their last game, sit there in the middle of the field and hold him for 10 minutes. It was over at that moment. Look at it. There it is right there. This is where you
borderline awkward.
All right, yes, it was. Here's my biggest takeaway, guys. My biggest takeaway is what he did after the devastating injury to his shoulder. Like, this is the worst injury a quarterback can sustain. 2005, last game of the season, playing for the San Diego Chargers. He goes down. People think his career is over. And what did he do after? He won a Super Bowl. He finished his career right now as the all-time leader in passing yards, second all-time in touchdowns. This dude, to achieve what he did after that injury, is one of the greatest feats that we've seen in sports. He had to adapt. He had to readjust how he approached football, how he took hits, how he worked out in the offseason, and he continued to set the pace and set the bar extremely high. When I knew this dude was different, and I say it all the time, Demario say, my biggest thing that I'm going to talk about for the rest of my life is the process. For me, I guess it's a part of the process. I literally saw this dude stand in front of a mirror on a Friday. Fridays are fast Fridays. Why do we call them fast Fridays in the National Football League? Because you're out so fast. We come in, there's no meetings. Right after practice, everybody's out getting their haircuts, maybe getting a massage. This dude on a fast Friday stood in front of a mirror for 30 minutes, just rocking back and forth, going through the playbooks and going through the game plan. That's when I knew he was different. Nick, his mastery of the game, his mastery of the position was just different.
Well, he kind of invented a new way to play. And by that, I mean he was our first ever super high volume and super high efficiency quarterback. Now, I think a lot of people might end up following that model, but there have been 14 seasons in NFL history where a guy completed 70% of his passes. Drew Brees has 7. Every other quarterback ever has 7. There are a dozen seasons in NFL history where a guy threw for 5,000 yards. Drew Brees has 5. Every other quarterback in NFL history has 7. So he melded those two together while also saving football in New Orleans, because I don't know if that market was going to sustain it post-Katrina if that team wasn't outstanding. And if you care about this type of thing, becoming one of the greatest free agent signings in sports history, and I would argue the greatest in NFL history. I do wonder, Wilds, what his long-term legacy is going to be, aside from he's going to be in the top 2 of every major passing category for a very, very long time. It'll be he and Brady for not in perpetuity, but for the next decade plus, at least in everything. But if you look at, I think this is a pretty fair telling, Wilds, of the last 50 years of the NFL and the quarterbacks. And I do feel like Brees was one more Super Bowl run away from jumping up a tier and being right behind Manning and Montana, because he has all those records. Because they have the playoff heartbreaks that they do, I think that he's right there with Favre and Staubach and Bradshaw, which isn't a bad thing. But I think, I think one of the reasons Brees waited so long to retire and kept running it back was he felt like, man, I can get one more, or I can get one league MVP. And unfortunately for him, in both of those categories, Wilds, he was just short each of the last few years, typically in a heartbreaking fashion at the end of the season.
It's funny, Brandon, we talked about 3 quarterbacks today, and they all have one ring. It was Aaron Rodgers with the Aaron Jones signing. It was Russ, and it was Drew Brees. And I know Nick is not a big count the rings guy, but I feel most bad for Drew Brees, because you've said that Aaron Rodgers' career could be a disappointment if he only ends up with one ring. Well, Drew Brees had some real heartbreaking moments that he was on the other side of, whether it was the Minnesota Miracle, whether it was the pass interference of the Rams, then they went to the Super Bowl and did nothing against the Patriots, or the offensive pass interference against the Vikings. I think it's tough when you look back at his career. You want to give him his flowers, and at the same time, you see how happenstance plays and what makes the NFL so interesting. And we said it in the break, Tom Brady and had the Tuck rule, went for him, won a Super Bowl, and they changed the rule. Drew Brees had the pass interference change. It hurt him. So it just shows how the ball bounces. Yep. But when you talk about Nick's pyramid, just because he has one ring and Brady has 7, if you're making an all-time team and it's like, all right, who's your first pick? I wouldn't be mad if you said Drew Brees is your all-time quarterback. I'd be totally fine with it.
Oh.
But Wilds, hold on 1 second. Let's put a list of the top 100 people that's overachieved in all industries. You're going to see Drew Brees there, number 1. This dude he's barely 6 foot. This dude got everything out of his body, everything out of his brain to play 20 years in the National Football League. So I wouldn't compare him to Aaron Rodgers. I would say this dude should actually move up a tier because of how well he achieved given what he had. So, Nick, your tier, bro, you got Marino in front of him, Favre in front of him. Come on, even Bradshaw and Roger. That's a debate, Nick.
Well, I think I think with 20 seconds left in this show, we stumbled on something very interesting, which is the best comp for Drew Brees actually Allen Iverson, meaning the guy who squeezed the absolute most out of their God-given ability. Like, whatever their peak possible performance was, they got there and then some, which you can't necessarily say about all the people ahead of him on that list. I think that's really interesting. I'm looking for the video of Brandon and Mishi doing the same thing. That's coming on House of Athletes later this week.
It was over right there.
I can't look. Look away.